You know what time it is. It is time for your favorite politically incorrect sports commentary show. It is Wednesday night, February the 7th. This will drop tomorrow morning, February the 8th. It is Sports Frenzy 2.0, kids.
That is the maestro, Kevin Craig.
And of course, joined as always by my brother from another mother, my best friend, the conquistador, Dave Height. We've been doing this bad boy on and off for about 30-odd years. 30 plus.
Lord help us.
So you think we know what we're doing by now. A lot of you out there probably don't think so, but
hey,
that's on you, not on us. You just can't understand the nuances of what we do.
Ranting and raving and swearing and calling people out.
Calling out the idiots and the dumbasses of the world, and we don't care who we offend. We are not apologizing, except
when we are factually incorrect.
Absolutely damn skippy correct, Dave. All right, as always, well, we can say that no longer.
Nope, the days are winding down where we lead off with the NFL.
Yes, but this is the big one. This is our Super Bowl preview, where we look ahead to the big one, the final game, the rematch from just before COVID destroyed our lives. The 49ers and the Kansas City Chiefs. But before we get to our panel's picks, all 8 picks in, by the way, makes it really easy for these doofuses when we only need one pick from them. I love them all very, very much. I did not mean to call them doofuses.
Yes, you did.
Wink, wink. Wink, wink doesn't work on a podcast.
No, it does not.
But let's look at some other news in the NFL as we're wrapping up with the hirings when it comes to head coaches and coordinators. Very interesting news about coordinator moves, by the way. The final domino fell this past week when it came to the head coach openings. And, of course, with their brain trust that they put together under their new ownership, the Washington Commanders go with Dan Quinn.
Yeah. There's an exciting hire for you.
Yeah, not an overwhelmingly popular hire. I expected Quinn to go back to Seattle.
That would have...
The one place where it would have made sense. He knows the structure. He knows the ownership.
Yeah.
Probably still knows some of the players.
But alas.
So Dan Quinn will take over in Washington under the new ownership group there. But fascinating coordinator moves. And I'm sorry, this is the geek in me, the sports geek. Most casual fans could give 2 rats shits about the coordinators. But
these are the guys who are head coaches in waiting, trying to maneuver around to gain a wider breadth of experience.
Or recycled losers.
Right.
Speaking of which...
Jesse,
Dave.
Huh?
You okay? Sounds like you're coming down with
Jesse,
something.
Yeah, I might be feeling... I'm feeling a little something coming on.
Verklempt?
Little bit.
Oh, we're going to start off with the Las Vegas Raiders, of course. Las Vegas hosting this grand debacle known as Super Bowl 58, and their new offensive coordinator is, Luke Getsy.
Yes. He just didn't Getsy it in Chicago for whatever reason.
And the thing that's fascinating, again, the sports geek in me is taking over here. Hearing all the different analysts and pundits talking about this hire, and then they talk about, well, now does this mean the Raiders are in the market to trade for Justin Fields?
No.
Bears fans, we know that didn't work.
No.
I would think Justin Fields wouldn't want anything to do with Luke Getsy.
And Getsy doesn't want anything to do with Fields. So there you go.
Yeah, I got a bad news flash for Antonio Pierce. And I'm glad he got the job. He seemed like he connected with the players in Vegas. They wanted him. That's fine. You're going to be in last place. You are going to...
Sorry.
Sean Payton will fix the Broncos. Jim Harbaugh will get the Chargers in the playoffs this year. That's my already way too goddamn early bold prediction.
Yeah. The Raiders said
And
they
the Chiefs
wanted.
aren't going anywhere.
Yeah. The Raiders said they wanted an offense that would average over 24 points a game. Getsy with the Bears did not get to 24 points a game.
No. I don't understand this hire at all. And again, not trying to disparage the hiring of Antonio Pierce, but you don't have a quarterback. I don't think
No.
Aiden O'Connell is the answer. We all know now Jimmy Garoppolo's pretty much shot.
Yeah, he's
going to be a backup for the rest of his career.
If he has
You don't know
any
if you're going to have a
semblance.
running game because Josh Jacobs is a free agent, I believe. Devontae Adams says he's happy, but he's been making,
comments here and there.
Little dropping some hints about maybe rejoining the Ass Hat in New York, Mr. Ayahuasca. So, again, Sean Payton will figure things out with Denver to the point where at least they're not terrible.
Right. They are going to be much improved next year.
Harbaugh will, again, take the Chargers to the playoffs. They'll figure it out. We're going to talk about those hires in a second. And the Chiefs aren't going anywhere. So,
no.
Sorry, Las Vegas. Oh, we got more bad news for you later, by the way. But
we'll just pile on.
Yep. The Chargers. Smart hires by Jim Harbaugh. And why would I expect anything less?
He's bringing his guys.
Yep.
Those with experience in the NFL that he's worked with.
Right.
They know what they're doing for success.
Officially confirmed, Jesse Minter leaves the U of M, follows Jim Harbaugh. He will be the defensive coordinator for the LA Chargers. And negotiations still in the final stages, but again, somebody, as you mentioned, who Jim Harbaugh is very familiar with, and John as well. Keep it in the family. Greg Roman looks like he will take over as the offensive coordinator. Now, I got to admit, I'm fascinated now with the Chargers. I went on Spot Track and looked at their cap just to see
are they
what
in
kind
trouble?
of maneuver.
What
they're
they
$44 million over right now.
Ouch.
And most of that is on the defense, and most of that it's going to be very, very difficult to get rid of. Khalil Mack, number one. Bosa, number two. Those are your two big contracts. They're probably going to have to take on some dead money.
Yeah.
And they're probably going to have to get rid of Keenan Allen. I did not realize Keenan Allen is still going to have a healthy chunk of money due to him. So even if they cut him, I think that's $11 million in dead cap money from what I saw.
Ouch.
And that's still not getting them close
to where they need to be.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a bloodletting in LA when it comes to the Chargers. Now, intriguing development when it comes to the Bears. Not directly, indirectly. We mentioned a few weeks ago that the Bears were talking to Cliff Kingsbury about him possibly becoming their offensive coordinator. They eventually went with the guy from Seattle.
Yep, Shane Weldon.
Right. So Kingsbury ends up, I believe, telling the Raiders at the last minute, no thank you. And he goes to join Dan Quinn in Washington. Now with the number 2 pick, rumors are swirling, as we alluded to a couple weeks ago with the connection that Cliff Kingsbury has to one USC quarterback, the presumptive number 1 pick, Caleb Williams. Now, can we, as the Bears at number 1, sucker
Washington into moving up
to take the number 1 pick? And I have heard so many scenarios. We were texting about this week. So many different scenarios with the Bears.
It's insane, the scenarios that are out there.
This might be the best one, though. If you let Caleb Williams go to the Commanders, reunite him with Cliff Kingsbury, we take Marvin Harrison Jr. at 2. Okay? get a whole bunch of draft picks from Washington.
Right. Retool on that.
Hopefully, maybe, possibly, I doubt it, but we might have to settle for the second best. We get Joe Alt if he drops to our pick.
Right.
Solid tackle for 10 years, protecting the quarterback, who is yet to be named. And then we use all this draft leverage we've accumulated to move up to maybe the 13th or 14th spot and take my man, Michael Penix Jr.
There you go.
Because I am hearing
There's
some
so
people
many.
say that after the top 3 picks, the top 3 quarterbacks, and I do not want Drake May. I do not want Drake May.
No Drake May. I heard one intriguing proposal out there. Trade the number 1 away. Drop down a little bit. Trading Fields somewhere. Somebody had it figured out where the Bears would be able to pick up Harrison, the quarterback from LSU.
Oh, Jaden Daniels? Oh my God.
And get a tackle. Somebody was really going deep.
You could do it, but you would have to burn up all the draft capital you've accumulated. Because
well, no,
you
this
basically
includes
need to
trading out.
No, I know. But if you want Jaden Daniels and Marvin Harrison, you're going to have to get the second and third pick. You're going to have to get the second and third pick.
So, or even not Harrison, but maybe one of Daniels' teammates, one of his receivers.
Yeah, okay.
Play that game.
I'd still rather go with Harrison, play the waiting game later on in the first round. And I would even do this. If we made this deal with the Commanders, this fictional, hypothetical deal, and drop from 1 to 2, then we take Marvin Harrison. Like you said, Fields still in play to trade. We could use a pick to move up to secure Joe Alt.
Yeah.
Maybe only have to move up 2 spots. I know that's in the top 10 in the first round, still a hefty price tag, but I still think I would rather, as we've talked about, reset the quarterback position salary-wise. Because again, I looked at Spot Track today with the Bears as well. Bears right now currently about 44 to 48 million under the cap. So plenty of room
and we have to pay Jalen Johnson.
Yeah. Yep. So, and the Bears are in better shape. I mentioned the Chargers, better shape in that they could let go of some people. Eddie Jackson being one of them.
Yep.
We'd have to take on about $5.5 million, I believe, dead cap, which isn't terrible. I will give kudos to the front office for this because we do not praise the Bears front office because they suck for the most part, but
Poles has actually
been
playing out very well.
They have cleaned out all the dead cap money. Yeah. Projected for this year, this upcoming year, $1 million. $1 million in dead cap money. That's brilliant. I mean, that's phenomenal.
And we've paid the price on the field for it, but it had to be done. You just had to rip the Band-Aid off and get rid of that crap.
Right. So we can take on some dead cap money. So if we had to let Eddie Jackson go and eat, $5 million roughly?
Yeah.
5.5, something like that. Now there's plenty of guys on the roster that we can't even think about moving, which is fine. A lot of offensive linemen, a lot of defensive players. Like you said, we got to think about paying Jalen Johnson. I would look at extending DJ Moore.
Oh, you have to get him wrapped up.
I mean, he's still under contract, but
lock him up.
Yeah. See if he can't renegotiate. Save a little cap space that way. Offset, maybe cutting Eddie Jackson. All right, other coordinator news. See how we took that and went 10 minutes with it? Now, the Commanders' defensive coordinator will be Joe Witt Jr. A lot of nepotism, by the way. Let me point this out. A lot of nepotism here. Clint Kubiak.
Yeah.
Recognize that last name, kids? Clint Kubiak, of course, son of Gary Kubiak, former Super Bowl winning head coach with the Broncos. Clint Kubiak now takes over as the Saints offensive coordinator, currently still, though, working for San Francisco as an offensive assistant. Got to be better. The Saints offense has got to be better under Kubiak than what they were this year.
They need a quarterback.
Well, they're stuck with Derek Carr, whether they like it or not. They're not getting out from under that deal for a while. That's a 2 or 3 year down the road proposition.
Yeah, they're in trouble.
They got to hope that somebody can salvage the last few good years left with Derek Carr, is what they got to hope. Nepotism. Jumping to the college ranks real quick, because I want to stick with the nepotism thing. The Washington Huskies, of course, coming off a fantastic year, national championship game, but of course, a lot of upheaval, a lot of turmoil because their head coach left for Alabama. So they've got a new regime coming in. Meet the new boss. Same as the old boss. Bill Belichick's son, Steve Belichick, will take over as the defensive coordinator for the Washington Huskies. And their offensive coordinator will be Brennan Carroll, who, by the way, is Pete Carroll's son. So, I don't want to hear anybody ever say that nepotism doesn't get you anywhere in sports or in Hollywood, because it does.
It does. It opens every damn door possible for you.
Bunch of freaking Nepo babies. And we're not done yet, because now we move back to Seattle. The Seahawks in the NFL. Now, first off, looking like, even though the head coach is a defensive guy, he's bringing in our old friend Leslie Frazier.
Yep, take over as defensive coordinator.
But who, pray chance, is taking over special teams for the Seattle Seahawks?
Who, pray tell, would that be?
We haven't used the name Harbaugh enough. Jim's son, Jay Harbaugh, will be the special teams coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks.
Nepo.
Nepo baby. All right, so enough of that crap. Let's move on to the game itself. Let's discuss the Super Bowl.
And how the Niners have already been hosed over before the game even begins by a shoddy practice field.
Yeah, they're at UNLV.
Yeah.
And they're not happy.
No, the NFL did a poor job setting the turf up for the Niners to practice on. Too soft. Way too soft.
Yeah, now the Chiefs kind of got together with their AFC West rival, the Raiders, and they're using their facility, I believe.
By the default, because the Chiefs are considered the home team.
Yep.
So they get the home stadium's practice facilities.
Yep. But, of course, now this has been a fairly tame week so far in terms of distractions. I think the biggest distraction has been the Sphere. Oh, my God. That's just phenomenal.
That thing is
every
crazy.
Morning waking up and watching
something different.
The morning shows and seeing that. Oh, Lord, that's got to be the next wonder of the world. But
do we cover it now or in the final segment as we discuss distractions?
Let's go ahead and wait, because I always feel like I don't give you enough chance to chime in at the end. You're always the participant. You're the judge, the final ultimate judge, but you should be chiming in on the content of the final segment once in a while. So we'll wait on that. Let's get to the game itself. We've got all 8 of our picks in. As I alluded to, all panelists have their choices in. Now, this is the final contest with football picks, the final game of said final contest for our 2023-24 campaign. And it looks like we're going to have to go to the tiebreaker for the Penta Frenzy.
Yes, it does. Son of a bitch.
Yep, because despite the fact that I have already locked up the trophy, the Rick Brooks Memorial Trophy is mine, that unfortunately means that now Dave and I will look to be tied because of the picks here for the Penta Frenzy, the ultimate championship for the year. So next week we will let you know how that all turned out.
Yep, we've got to come up with tiebreakers, confidence tiebreakers that we need to pick.
Yep. So, looking here at our picks, we are split 4-4. Now, I looked at the odds earlier today, dropped a little bit, but still, to me, kind of mind-boggling that San Francisco is still a favorite. They were 2.5 down to 1.5 point favorites.
The Super Bowl is typically a wash.
Well, this one should be.
This one should be.
This one should be. This is one of the better matchups we've had in quite a while. So, we shall go through, Dave and I will go through our breakdowns individually, and then we'll give you the picks for the entire panel. I am taking the Kansas City Chiefs. I've learned my lesson. I'm not picking against Mahomes. I'm not. I can't. But the big thing is that defense. I never would have thought this.
Led by Spagnuolo.
I never would have thought at the beginning of the season I would be saying the Chiefs' defense going into the last final game of the year is better than the 49ers defense.
I know, that's frightening, isn't it?
And yes, Steve Wilkes came out this week and they all finally said what I've been saying the last 2-3 weeks. We've been saying this, Chase Young especially, glad to see they called his lazy ass out.
Yeah, he has been a
He's costing himself millions and millions of dollars.
Absolutely.
With his performance.
Taking plays off, just not caring.
And again, we got the better of the two defensive ends from Washington. But finally, the 49ers are acknowledging the fact that we need to get this defense fired up. They need to play better. Hopefully, they are going back and watching tape of what the Buccaneers did a few years ago to Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs. They've got the talent to do it.
Oh, they can absolutely do it if they pull their heads out of their asses and focus.
And of course, we still got doubters when it comes to Brock Purdy. I don't know why. I thought by now he's proved himself the last two games at crunch time in the fourth quarter.
Brock Purdy is not going to do anything to hurt the Niners' chances. He is a game manager who can make big plays.
I think this all boils down to what we just discussed. I think it boils down to which defense plays better. Does Spagnuolo's defense continue to play as well as they have now? Of course, bad news coming out from the last game. They have lost defensive end Charles Omenihu to a torn ACL, so that's going to hurt them. But again, Spagnuolo has done a great job of coaching this defense up.
Yep, absolutely.
And
that's probably his best coaching to date.
And a lot of people are asking, why isn't he being considered for any head coaching jobs?
Because he was an unmitigated disaster with the Dolphins. Maybe he's one of those guys who's a phenomenal coordinator and can take that side of the ball and run with it.
Like a Vic Fangio.
Yeah, Fangio. You got your realm, but you can't do the overall team management.
And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
Not at all.
Buddy Ryan had the greatest defense in the history of mankind. He couldn't be a head coach, but he was a damn good defensive coordinator. So there's nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it at all.
Now, there's speculation that Spagnuolo could take over as head coach for the Chiefs when Andy's ready to hang it up.
Oh, what about Matt Nagy? Eric Bieniemy came back crawling back this week, by the way, since he got booted to the curb by Dan Quinn.
Yeah, like you didn't see that coming.
So Bieniemy came back. Oh, would you like some help with the offense? Yeah, I would definitely give the team to Spagnuolo before
no
Nagy or Bieniemy.
Yeah.
And we're not getting into the Andy Reid thing.
No.
I'm not
We'll
getting
let
into
that play itself out.
Yep. So, again, I think it's defense versus defense. Which defense plays better? That's going to be the team that wins. I ultimately don't trust Chase Young. I think the 49ers, at some point, on some side of the ball, offense, defense, will have a significant injury. Deebo Samuel has been dinged up this entire year. He can't seem to stay healthy.
You can say that about both teams. They're just one little
Well, we
hiccup
talked
away.
about
But
your
Samuel
guy on your fantasy team, who I love,
Mr.
love.
Pachenko.
That dude will run his ass through fire.
He will show up no matter what.
He's not Kadarius Toney. They've already told Kadarius Toney. I can't believe they let him come.
Oh, I know.
This week. I would have told him, you sit your ass at home, young joker.
Yeah, we don't need you for this.
Yeah. And luckily, he has not proven to be a distraction. So your pick, Dave, is?
I am taking the Niners, who probably should be considered the underdogs, going up against the Chiefs.
All right, the other picks we've got in. Sam is taking the Chiefs. Bill is taking the Niners. Of course, that is what's going to force the Penta Frenzy tiebreaker.
Yep.
Bill and Dave needed to go oppo to give us a clean winner one way or the other. Jen also going with the 49ers.
Nick taking the Chiefs. Doug going with the Niners. And Aaron going with the Chiefs.
So that right there should tell you.
Split.
Very, very close. Great matchup for this Super Bowl. Now, I will say this. I picked the Chiefs. I'm rooting for the Niners. I would like to see Brock Purdy win the Super Bowl. I would like to see Kyle Shanahan get the monkey off his back.
There, yeah.
I would like to see some of these 49er players get a ring.
Yeah, the ones
well-deserved
that need
ring.
their props.
And you guys know how I feel about most of the distractions and the things going on with the Chiefs. I don't like Andy Reid. I don't like Patrick Mahomes' family. I'm done, sick, puke, ready to throw up every minute I see Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. I'm done with that.
Let's just move on.
Put a ring on the finger and get it over with.
Just be done.
Or break up and then she'll write an entire fucking album about how Travis Kelce broke my heart. And how do you like the fact
we may even get a song about shirtless man?
Oh, by the way, shirtless man, the brother, of course, probably potential future Hall of Famer Jason Kelce from the Eagles. They made a Funko Pop figure
of him shirtless.
Yes, holding a beer can. Holding a beer can. Limited edition. Only available through the Funko Pop website. I don't even know if it's available anymore. It was like a 4-day window.
Oh, man.
$25 plus shipping. That's too rich for my blood.
Yeah, that's a little too
much. But they showed the
awesome.
image of it. The picture is stellar. They did it.
Awesome.
They did it justice. Absolutely did it justice. And how do you like Taylor Swift at the Grammys? Thanking her fans and then using the time to promote her new album.
Well, yeah.
Didn't thank anybody else. Didn't thank anybody else except her fans, and then said, "Oh, by the way, I've got a new album coming out in April."
Yeah. What do you expect?
I'm not a Swiftie. I'm not all in. I do love the one video.
Well, there is that one
Look
video.
what you made me do. Yeah, you made me do something with that video. But we got kids. This is going to be unbelievable.
This is just the start.
The start.
Oh, we've got so much more.
Yep. So let's talk next about the last few NFL headlines that I neglected to bring up. So if anybody cares, and I know goddamn well we don't, the Pro Bowl games The NFC won 64-59 with all their little skills competitions and everything. And I'm
Blah,
sure
blah,
they'll
blah,
tell
blah,
us the
blah.
ratings were stellar, and it was.
How are the ratings for everything so stellar?
I know. Isn't that amazing? Over the last 6 months or so, everything, doesn't matter if it's a streaming show on Netflix or a sporting event, everything's setting records. Everything's setting records. I don't get it either.
It's impossible. Absolutely impossible.
Because I know damn well I haven't watched anything involving the Pro Bowl in at least a decade.
Oh, it's a joke.
And we are diehard NFL fans.
Yeah, we watch everything except for the Pro Bowl.
Right.
We will watch bad preseason games.
Well, what? Pick the two worst teams in the NFL. We'd watch the Commanders versus the Titans.
Yeah, because it's on.
Yeah.
But sorry, the Pro Bowl holds zero appeal.
But of course, the NFL can do no wrong. So again, what are they doing?
Let's go to Brazil!
And they're going to do it on a Friday. And I love when I learn stuff. I learned something new about this whole Brazil thing. So Brazil, Friday, September the 6th, the day after the season opening game. We don't know who the Eagles will be playing, but the Philadelphia Eagles, they're giving up the home game this year for an out-of-country game. They will be the ones in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Here's the stuff I learned that's very interesting. If we've ever wondered why the NFL does things the way they do. Now, how can they get away with having a Friday night game in September? We all know about the invaluable antitrust exemption that the NFL gets from the government.
Yeah.
The antitrust exemption states specifically the NFL cannot have a game kick off after 6 p.m. on a Friday or Saturday from the second Friday in September through the second Saturday in December. Hence, how were they able to pull off the Black Friday game? Kicked off at 3 p.m.
Yep.
They were allowed to do that. They can do that.
Because it was before the deadline.
Yeah, 6 o'clock kickoff, no go. From the second Friday in September through the second Saturday in December. This Brazil game is the first Friday in September.
So there you go. Loophole after loophole.
Yep. Again, kids, do some research. You learn new stuff all the time. Now, one little college football tidbit, and then I believe your Uncle Dave is going to remind you, as always, of where you can find Sports Frenzy 2.0.
We have to give the kids an update on the Colts owner, Jim Irsay, first. Because, back in December, he was found unresponsive, barely breathing, had to go to the hospital. He finally came out with his online message, on the mend, thanks for the support. This is the oldest looking 62-year-old, 64-year-old, however, early 60s. Oh my God. Irsay has had a rough go with all of his addictions.
Right, he's done it to himself.
He looks 20 years older than he actually is.
He has done it to himself.
He has. He's ruined himself. He can barely get around. I hope he's got a contingency in place for the next year or two, because I seriously doubt he's going to be around.
Yeah, he has wrecked himself. He's wrecked his body, wrecked his mind. Now, we mentioned on the last episode that Boston College, their head coach, Jeff Hafley, had moved on to the NFL to become the new defensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers. So now the Ohio State Buckeyes have a little problem.
Yep,
They have a
they
little.
could be losing their new offensive coordinator just mere weeks after getting him.
Yep, Bill
Bill
O'Brien, of course.
interviewing for the Boston College job.
Which poor pity party would screw over Ohio State, and they'd have to go out again.
And find another
But
coordinator.
of course, they would just poach somebody from some poor lower tier school and screw them over.
Right. So what does it matter? And sorry, Day can suck it up and quit being the whiny little bitch that he is and just be the offensive coordinator and call the plays.
Yeah, because he said that was the whole thing, was he wanted to give up
Yeah.
the play calling.
Yeah, so he can whine and cry a little bit more.
Yeah.
Was it the one meme our buddy Jamie sent us with him on the sideline wearing a diaper?
Yeah, he does have a tendency to shed some crocodile tears when it's convenient for himself,
Yeah.
doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
All right, so as we transition from the end of the NFL season to the beginning of the NASCAR season, your Uncle Dave is going to let you know some vital information.
That's right, because you can always find us. You know where you're listening to us right now. But we're all over Spotify, Google, Radio Public for just another month and a half. Pocket Cast, Apple, Overcast, Castbox, Amazon, Audible, and iHeart Sports Frenzy 2.0, baby.
Otherwise, of course, known as iHeartRadio. And don't forget to check out the Facebook page.
That's
As
right.
we finish posting our football picks for this season, the NASCAR picks will start to appear each and every weekend on our Facebook page. Speaking of NASCAR, speaking of that transition,
The bad transit. Well, the transition begins now again for the Coliseum back to an actual football stadium and the track and field events that they hold there, tearing up all the pavement that they laid down for the Busch Light Clash. Ah,
and of course,
near disaster for NASCAR.
yeah, the weather did not cooperate. They made the right choice in moving the race up from Sunday to Saturday, but destroyed any chance of getting decent ratings on TV.
Yeah, basically Saturday was supposed to have been practice qualifying in the heat races to set the lineup for Sunday night's race.
The Mexico
The
showcase.
Mexico showcase, all of that. No, the 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 rains that came in threatened for Sunday night, so NASCAR scrapped half the practices, scrapped the heat races, moved up the Clash to Saturday night, and then ran the Mexican series right after.
Yep. Yep. And Denny Hamlin won from the pole.
Yep, managed to work himself back up at the end. Ty Gibbs had one of the most dominant cars of the night, led a lot, got shuffled out near the end.
Yeah, he didn't like that.
No.
He and Joey Logano had some words after the race, after the Clash, which is always good. We
Yeah,
love to see that.
you need that. That's what you get for short track racing.
But as I mentioned, ratings were way, way down because the Clash would have been on Fox. Instead, Saturday night, a day earlier. Very, very short notice for the NASCAR fans. Moved to FS1.
Yeah.
So
There
I
you
don't.
go.
You got to take it with a grain of salt, but at the same time, they're gonna have to give money back to the advertisers because I'm sure they're promised a certain number, and if
Oh,
they
yeah.
don't get that number, they get some kind of rebate.
You have to give all the ticket money back to everybody who couldn't go
everybody
on
was free.
Sunday. Yeah.
Everybody
Saturday was a free day.
Right, and then they refunded the money for the Sunday
Yeah.
people who couldn't make it. So basically, and that's all on top of how much money it costs to build this track, put this track together inside the Coliseum.
Yep, NASCAR is going to be in the red coming out of that weekend.
Yep. And you really wonder. Again, we should be running everything, you and I. But you really wonder, between the money they invest in putting this track down, this temporary track down in the Coliseum, the LA Coliseum, and then the money they put in to setting up the Chicago street race now. I mean, now this year, luckily, they don't have to deal with the Bristol dirt track mess.
Right. Thank God for that.
But that's a lot of money they're outlaying to set up these tracks, these anomalies,
Yeah,
these one-offs.
you don't need it.
That's a lot of money they're flushing down the toilet. A lot of money.
Yes, it is. There's enough tracks existing that you don't need this specialty bullshit.
Yep. Now, I think we mentioned this before, but it looks like it's pretty close to confirmation that Fontana will not be ready
Oh,
anytime soon.
no.
So next year is still up in the air in terms of who's going to have that race. If Iowa goes well, they'll probably get to keep it. And then eventually, if that succeeds and does well, then they'll knock another
You know
track
what?
off the schedule.
If you really want to have another race out in California, go back to Riverside. They haven't run there since the late 80s. Hell, you got Laguna Seca.
Oh my God, Laguna Seca.
Make them run the
Yep.
corkscrew.
Yep.
Come on.
That would be fun. That would be fun. That's my GT, my old GT heart. Even though it's not on the current incarnation of Gran Turismo, I remember running Laguna
Oh, it
Seca.
is there.
Maybe I just ran it so much early on that I
Yeah,
wiped
it's
them all out.
WeatherTech.
Yeah, I probably just cleared out all the Laguna Seca
Yeah.
runs, but I love that track. Love that
It's a
track
lot of
on
fun.
GT.
Get
Love
that
it.
little corkscrew going,
Yep.
and then the big sweeping curve, and
Yep.
then
And the changes
right
in
back
elevation.
down.
And,
Yes.
Yep. Love Laguna Seca.
That I want to see them run Laguna Seca more than I want to see them back at Sonoma.
Yeah, and again, I know this one NASCAR's not necessarily investing the money, but again, a huge commitment, time and money to revamping Fontana to make it a short track now. We'll see.
We'll see.
Now
But we got alternatives for you, kids.
We should mention, even though I don't give two rip shits about F1, the big news in F1 this week.
Lewis Hamilton in 2025 will be moving from Williams Mercedes to Ferrari. He will get his childhood dream ride driving for the Prancing Horse.
Yep. And again, I don't care. I know who Lewis Hamilton is. This is to me like Messi changing teams in soccer. I really don't care.
There you go. Formula One is a bunch of overhyped, overpriced, posh, prima donna little bitches.
You can say it. Remember, we're explicit. You can
I know.
say
I was
it, Dave.
trying to expound a little bit more, but God, the way they're treating Andretti, not letting them in, is
Which we
an
talked about
absolute
last week.
bullshit. So F1 overhyped, overpriced, crappy, boring ass follow the leader racing.
And that leads us into high speed, crappy ass, follow the leader, boring super speedway racing at Daytona.
That's right. Oh.
Where we all wait for the big one.
Yep. But at least the cars are close. People are making moves and able to pass.
Right. Yes.
Formula One, there's nothing.
Right. So race one of the 2024 NASCAR Cup season, of course, begins with the biggest race of the year, outside of arguably the championship race. 36 races from now. But right now, race one, February the 18th, 2024, the Daytona 500. And I am very intrigued by the picks that we have here. I think Jen's the one that's going with the odds-on favorite, the easy pick. And that is, I am not disparaging the pick at all.
No, going with your reigning champion, Ryan Blaney.
Now, the rest of the picks are the ones that, to varying degrees, kind of surprise me.
Yeah. No, Blaney, good on super speedways, better at Dega.
Yes. Yep. Now, Nick taking Denny Hamlin, another one that's probably pretty predictable.
It's a pretty safe. Again, I've got other tracks to pencil him in.
Yep, we should note, by the way, that these picks in our first contest of 2024 for the 24-25 Penta Frenzy, we've changed the rules a little bit. We've tweaked things, trying to get more in line with what NASCAR is doing. So, in that sense, the urgency to score maximum points isn't quite there now this year for us, as we've decided, because people cried and they whined and they complained over the last couple of years. I'm going to quit. I'm not having fun. I got eliminated.
Guess what? I finished dead last year, which is costing me, which is why we're going to have a tie for the Penta Frenzy, and I'm not bitching about how we had everything
No,
set up.
Dave and I have been doing this since the beginning. We are simpatico on the rules for the most part. We usually agree to make this as fair as possible, but there are no participation trophies. But
to make everybody feel better, even though it wouldn't have made a damn bit of difference in the final outcome
we
anyway.
looked at the numbers last week. It would not have changed last year's outcome at all.
But everybody feels better.
Because NASCAR allows racers, full-time racers, to get in with a win, we decided we're going to do it. Our cutoff was getting the top 10 in points, because how hard is it? You get 3 picks in the first 26 for every driver. You get to pick the best of the best at the best tracks.
And it can still come back and bite you in the ass.
But no. Now you either have to finish, for our purposes, in the top 10
points
or win a race.
Get a win.
So now I don't care. I'll just go out there and just throw crap against the wall and see if it sticks. Because I know damn well I'll win a race at some point.
Yeah, and you got to look at stage points and all of that good stuff.
Yeah, we'll carry stage points through to the playoff reset and beyond.
Yep.
Well, we will award
playoff points. Playoff points will carry through.
But we'll also reward stage points in the last 10, which we did not do before.
Right.
And we will, at the playoff reset, do what NASCAR does. We were a little stingy, only giving 3 points for a win. We will now give 5 points for a regular season win at the playoff reset.
Right.
Little tweaks there, just to make things a little more interesting for everybody else who's going to whine and bitch and moan. Of course, Doug's emailing me about
horse racing
and pickleball
and water polo. And shut up, Doug.
All right, so Joey Logano for Sam and Bill. Interesting pick.
Yep, not bad.
I'll tell you this, he's the one driver I still do not trust. For the last couple of years, I've never had a good feel for where and when to take Logano.
I know, he's just all up and down. And
nobody can argue with his success.
No, but there's no predictability. He doesn't have a couple of tracks where he dominates at. He can be great at a track one year and totally suck there the following year. And he's all over the place. It's the inconsistency across the spectrum of short track, super speedway, intermediate is unbelievable.
Yep, I completely agree. There's like 2 or 3 drivers I feel that way about. And he's number 1 on the list. At the end of the first 26 races, I usually have 1 or 2 Logano picks left.
Yeah.
Just because I don't have that comfort level with him, as you mentioned so well, anywhere and everywhere.
Yeah.
But Sam and Bill are going with him. Now, your pick along with Doug and Aaron fascinates me to a point.
You know, I thought I was going to be on Busher Island. I did not expect anybody else to have taken him.
Yep. Nope. Doug and Aaron jumped in there before you. So 3 picks. This surprises me a lot. But we get to my pick, maybe not so much. Because you've got Chris Buescher along with Doug and Aaron. But
I almost joined you.
I'm taking his teammate at RFK.
You're going with Mr.
I think
Keselowski.
this is the year. This is his last best shot at making a statement before he goes out to Kevin Harvick pasture. By the way, Kevin Harvick, I was not impressed with him at the Clash in the booth.
No, he was kind of
He was.
milquetoast.
I expected a little more energy, not matching Boyer, but I expected a little more Stewart and Boyer
Yeah, where
when
they
they've
would
been
start
together.
playing off of each other
Yeah,
and button heads a little
Harvick
bit.
was way too stiff in the booth for the Clash.
And he's done
I know.
races before.
Logano is better. Now, hopefully, Harvick will grow. Maybe Harvick will be like Troy Aikman and grow into it.
Yeah, but we've heard Harvick before, and he's been good.
I know. But yeah, I'm taking Brad Keselowski. I'm taking Boucher's teammate. Again, Blaney is the safe pick.
Yeah.
Again,
But
Mrs. C's got the pick, but
this is also what we consider a throwaway race.
yes. And now with the rules being altered and changed and being made a little bit easier, I'm not going to burn a Blaney right now. I don't want to.
Right.
He's the defending champion. I'll find 3 other races down the road.
He's better at other tracks.
Like you said, if I want to go super speedway with him, I go Dega. So there you go. Just getting started with the NASCAR stuff this year, kids. But we should talk a little bit about the NBA.
Little bit.
So, and this is the thing, the last 3 or 4 weeks, they have had a lot of interesting headlines. And this week, no exception. We're heading into the All-Star break about a week and a half away.
Getting close to the trade deadline.
That's tomorrow. Well, depending on when this drops, it is Thursday at 3 p.m.
Yes.
So if this drops early Thursday, today at 3 p.m. is a trade deadline. Be interested to see who gets moved to whom. A lot of injury issues, a lot of problems in the East, especially when you're looking at Joel Embiid with the Sixers.
Knee surgery, going to be out, 4 to 6 weeks?
Yep, minimum 4 weeks.
And that takes him completely out of any postseason awards.
Yep. And I still love that rule. I love that rule.
Minimum games played.
Yep.
Oh, sorry,
now, technically,
Mr. Embiid. Because of this injury, your load management issues early on are really coming to bite you in the ass, especially with the season that you're having.
Yeah, this was not supposed to be punitive for injuries. It was supposed to be punitive for load management.
Yeah.
Well, we mentioned the All-Star weekend is coming up. Have you heard what the court is going to look like? I might have to watch just for the court. Because the court is going to have a glass overlay. It's going to be an LED screen that they're going to be playing on.
Oh, God.
During the breaks, they will be showing replays and real-time statistics on the court.
Ugh.
Now, here's my question. Are they going to,
How
flip it?
ADD is this country become?
Oh, this is just the new flashy, shiny toy.
Seriously. God.
Are they going to flip it? You know what I mean? Are they going to flip it so the other side can see? Obviously, you're screwed if you're on behind the basket on either end. But in terms of the people on either side of the long end of the court.
Right. The TV side's going to get all the bonus.
That's what I'm wondering.
And then they're going to have to flip it back and forth. Now, if they were smart, one half of the court would face one direction, the other half would face the opposite.
So kind of split it?
Yeah.
No, they won't do that.
No, they're not that smart. It's the NBA. They're stupid.
Now, we mentioned Joel Embiid with his knee surgery, meniscus surgery. Any chance the Bulls were going to have of trading Zach LaVine are gone, as now he is going under the knife for foot surgery. He'll be out 4 to 6 months.
Yeah. Ugh.
So the Bulls are looking at probably blowing things up, trading
the Bulls
DeMar
are
DeRozan.
In basketball hell. They have no draft picks.
And why are they in basketball hell, Dave?
Because Mr. Ball is still out recovering.
Yep.
And the way the NBA works with the damn guaranteed contracts has absolutely screwed them over.
Yep, absolutely. And now they have to look at trading the few good players they have left and starting from scratch.
Yeah. And they're not going to get anything in return. They're not going to get the draft picks that they need. They are mired in mediocrity for at least the next 5 or 6 years. They are just in trouble.
Yep. Now, luckily for me, the Orlando Magic still hanging on. Probably going to end up in that play-in tournament, but we'll see. They're 27-24. And for the first time, Paulo Banchero is an all-star, my man.
There you go.
The one thing the Bears could learn a lesson from the Magic. The one thing the Magic don't fuck up is when they get a number one pick, they get a number one pick. They make it count. Whether it's Shaquille O'Neal, Dwight Howard, Paulo Banchero, they pick the right guy.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they do. They do a very good job.
Yes. And it's not that easy, kids. You look back at some of the number one picks.
Major crapshoot.
Yep. And the Magic always do a great job with their high draft picks, especially at number one. Now, of course, Michael Jordan, the all-time greatest player of all time in many people's eyes, including my own. But this world is just fucking ridiculous. 6 sneakers
6
worn by Michael Jordan at various games, various stages of the finals when the Bulls won their titles. I guess he had some kind of deal with somebody in the front office. They had like a little wager or bet or something where if you notice Michael Jordan at the end of all of these championship reigns, at the end of the final game, whether it was game 7, game 6, whatever, would have one shoe on because he gave the other shoe to this gentleman in the front office. Well, now all these sneakers, some of them signed, I think 3 of the 6 are signed possibly, went on auction here the last week at Sotheby's, gleaning a record $8 million for 6 sneakers.
Not 6 pairs.
6 shoes. Not 6 pair, 6 shoes. $8 million.
People with stupid money.
Think of what that money could do. That's, again, I am no benevolent soul. I don't volunteer at a soup kitchen. I don't do any of that. But if I had this type of money, I would try to do better with it.
Yeah,
I really would try to do better with
6 pairs or 6 shoes.
I would at least give the money to my children. Let alone just buying stuff like this. Memorabilia that's basically going to rot in a display case somewhere.
As I look around your displays and I think back to my displays, but we have nowhere near that kind of money invested.
No, the most I've ever spent on a piece of memorabilia is $75. I spent
125 was the max I've had.
Yeah, I mean that's reasonable. These are athletes that meant a lot to us. I spent $75 on a signed Ryne Sandberg baseball. I mean, we're not talking about $8 million. Nothing is worth $8 million.
No, it's not.
Nothing. Except maybe if I'm buying a small Mediterranean country.
Yeah.
And then I'm still going to negotiate.
Oh.
So now we move on to baseball. And we hope, by the way, you are enjoying our new non-stop format here on the sports edition of Sports Frenzy 2.0. Not going to do it quite yet with the weekend edition because there's more natural breaks there.
We might still be able to pull it off.
I still like the breaks between the music and then the movies and then the TV. So we'll see. We'll see. But sports working a lot better for us here nonstop. So we move on to baseball.
Will the Dodgers never stop spending frickin' money this offseason?
Well, yeah, Clayton Kershaw is coming back with the Dodgers. No details released yet outside of the fact he'll be back in 2024. He will have a
Halfway
player
through the
option.
season because coming
Yeah,
off of surgery.
yeah. He'll have a player option for 2025, but he will, as Dave alluded to, will not pitch the first half of 2024 coming off shoulder surgery. But who cares because they won't pay him until 2072.
Right, so what does it matter? His great-great-grandkids will be receiving that salary.
Unbelievable horseshit. Horseshit. If you want to pick one team out of any of the major sports now to hate, it's the Dodgers.
Yep. Ah, vile business practices.
Yep. Now, we did have a couple interesting contract extensions. One for an older player, one for a younger player. Now, of course, Jose Altuve is the face of the Houston Astros. No shock, no surprise here. They lock him up, so he will retire most likely as an Astro. 5 years, $125 million. He's probably, barring a devastating injury here, first year of this contract, a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah, he is. I mean, my God, they struck gold when they drafted him.
Yep. And I'm sure they said he's too
with
small.
He
He's
been the life of that franchise through the down years where they were tanking to build back up. And he, as you said, he is the face of that franchise through the resurgence and their title runs.
Yep. So again, 5 years, $125 million extension. Likely will keep Jose Altuve with the Astros until he calls it quits. And I don't have a problem with the Astros because they and the Cubs both kind of did things the same way over the last decade or so.
But the Astros did it better.
Yeah.
They've
the
been
Cubs
able to maintain.
let their guys go. The minute they could cut bait on Schwarber and Rizzo and Bryant, they cut bait on them.
And they gave out dumber contracts.
Yes.
Stupid money. Whereas the Astros kept things fiscal and fluid and kept their main pieces.
Yep, they know when to keep guys, when to lock them up early, and then when to let them go. And the Astros will definitely be in play to go to the World Series, hopefully against somebody other than the Dodgers.
And if it's against the Dodgers, may they sweep them.
Yes. Now, young players, we've seen this work in favor of some of these teams. We've seen it work against them. Tampa Bay being the current example with that whole mess with Wander Franco.
Yeah. Ugh.
But the Royals say, hey, at some point, and I applaud them for this, at some point we got to spend money. We've got to make this team at least somewhat viable. Let's lock up our young star, Bobby Witt Jr., shortstop, gets 11 years, $288.8 million. Now, there are, of course, as what is normal these days, an opt-out in, I believe, like year 7, year 8, year 9.
Yeah, but still, they have him locked up for the foreseeable future.
Yes.
Good for them for actually spending money and trying to lock up a young player, considering that they totally bailed when they had the best friggin' outfield in baseball at one point.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we remember that. They got rid of all the, Johnny Damon was one of them.
Jermaine Dye.
Yep.
And
Beltran. Yeah. Yep. So they seem like they're at least going to put in the effort, unlike a team like the Pirates.
Or the Reds.
Or the Rockies.
Or the White Sox.
I wasn't going to bring up the White Sox, but now that you brought them up.
Oh, they're trash.
This probably cements the White Sox in last place, unfortunately, for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. No, it's hey, they did make a move.
They made 2 moves.
Yeah, go figure. Big one probably is sending reliever Gregory Santos to Seattle for 2 prospects, a pitcher. What was it? Prelandor Barone, and then an outfielder who they project maybe for right field, Zach Deloche. Whoop-de-friggin' do.
Yeah, if we knew these players, we wouldn't have a hard enough time pronouncing their names.
Yeah.
Because we know them by
Nobody
now.
cares.
Yeah, the other transaction they made, they sent youngster Christian Menza to the Diamondbacks. So
For another outfielder. Eh. Eh. There's just so much wrong.
This is the master plan for Chris Getz.
Yeah. God help us.
Hey, the Cubs aren't doing anything, so I'm still thinking they're holding out.
Hey, they're not overpaying for Bellinger, so that's...
Yeah, they're holding out to see if that price comes down, is what I think. I'll tell you what I would like to see him do. I still think they need another bullpen arm. I would like to see them bring in JD Martinez, a less expensive, shorter term option. Put that big bat in the lineup.
Yeah, why not?
You've got a decent enough defensive outfield as is with Happ, with Suzuki, with Talkman. You don't need to overpay for Bellinger.
No, you don't. Bring in JD. He can sub in at first base.
Yeah.
He can be your DH. You're going to be fine.
Yeah, you give him 2 years, 30, 35 million.
There you go.
Hell of a lot better.
You bring him in, and that forces Bellinger to come down.
Yep. And again, I still want another bullpen arm.
Yeah, you have to have that.
Now, of course, the big news in terms of transactions this week was the Orioles. We talked last week about how the sale is going to go through. The Angelos family will sell the Orioles. And amazingly enough, right away, what do? They pull off probably the biggest trade of the offseason. And they pick up former Cy Young Award winner Corbin Burns from the Brewers. And now all of a sudden, the Yankees and the Red Sox are going, what the fuck?
Whoa,
what the
whoa,
fuck?
whoa, whoa.
What the fuck?
What is this?
Now I got to deal with the fucking Orioles all the time now, each and every year.
This?
For the
Orioles?
next 5 or 6 years. They're good and they're young.
We have to take care of each other, and we have to worry about the Orioles in addition to the Rays.
Yeah, we're not even thinking of the Rays and the Blue Jays.
The East is insane.
The AL East is that might be when you get
they are going to beat the shit out of each other.
When you get the interdivision games on like MLB Network or they show up Saturday night on Fox, I might watch those. I could deal with watching the Orioles and the Red Sox, Orioles and the Yankees. Now that I know the Orioles are actually a viable force.
Yeah, that whole
coming off a 100-win season.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But of course, with all the fun stuff and some of these teams making positive moves and strides, there's the negative.
There's always the negative.
Of course, we know the Super Bowl is in Las Vegas this week, but everything is not, slot machines and roses and whores and hookers and all the good stuff in life.
Yeah. The residents of Vegas do not want the A's coming in.
Well, the mayor doesn't.
Well, they don't want to pony up more money for another stadium.
Right, that's the holdup, is the stadium deal.
And the mayor doesn't like where they want to build.
Right there on the strip.
Awful place for them to be.
They're going to tear down the Tropicana, which is already set in stone.
Yeah, but just that location is a disaster for a sports team, for anybody visiting or locals trying to get in and out of there.
All right, can I dispute this, though? I have been watching, again, a lot of the pre-games, the morning shows, here the lead up to the Super Bowl and all the exterior shots of how I have not been to Vegas in 15 years, but I know it's different. Reliant Stadium is freaking a block and a half off the strip. Okay? Or Allegiant Stadium, I'm sorry. Is it Allegiant or Reliant?
I don't know. I don't care. Allegiant.
The Raiders Stadium is barely off the strip. So I don't want to hear this whining and crying about it.
Being on the strip?
Yeah. The baseball stadium will be basically 2 blocks away from the football stadium, which is how most metropolitan areas set these things up, to share parking, to share all those types of facilities, so that when one's done and the other begins,
there's no issues.
You share the parking, you share all the amenities. So I don't want to hear this whining and crying and bitching and pissing and moaning. But how pathetic is it that Carolyn Goodman, the mayor of Las Vegas, basically says she hopes that Oakland works out a deal
with
to keep the A's. I mean, my God. How many decades did we go through when we were growing up where we were told the big 4 sports leagues you could not even talk about Vegas?
No, because of the debauchery, the gambling, it would ruin
sports.
The
gambling was the big thing, right? And now all of a sudden you got the Golden Knights succeeding as a hockey team. You got the NBA talking about putting a team at some point in Vegas. Now you have the Raiders in a I won't say a gorgeous stadium. I've heard some things about it that bother me. I've heard they don't have the best bathroom facilities.
Yeah, their amenities are not good for the fans.
But still, that city can support 4 sports teams, can support 1 of each in the 4 major leagues. And for the mayor to sit there and poo-poo getting a baseball team handed to her. Now, I understand the behind-the-scenes dealings with the stadium financing can be a problem. You and I hate it when the taxpayers have to pony up money.
Yeah, when the owners can pay for this shit outright.
But there are like 3 or 4 cities in this country, Orlando, New Orleans, Vegas come to mind, where they can use tourist money, tourist tax dollars to pay for this stuff. They don't have to tax the residents.
No, they don't. There's plenty of tourist money, the casino money coming in. Come on.
Yeah. No, you don't have to increase any kind of taxes on the residents. And if they're trying to pull that shit, then that is
shame
garbage.
On them.
That's bullshit.
Yeah.
There's easy ways in Vegas to raise money other than to take tax money from the residents. Now, finally in baseball. I don't know if you heard this. Of course, I admit, bizarre as it is, I listen to more New York sports radio than Chicago, even though we're only an hour and a half out of Chicago. But interesting interview with the former Mets manager, Buck Showalter, this past week, which I thought I would share with everybody.
Buck's always good for an interview.
Well, you wonder why he only lasted 2 years with the Mets. First year did very well. Second year was a mess. Of course, they gave too much money to 2 aging pitchers, one of which is obviously shot.
Yeah. We told you so on those deals, that they overpaid and it was going to be a train wreck.
We didn't just tell them so, Dave.
No, we fucking told you so.
There you go. There you go. Get it out of there. Get it out of your system.
There you go.
Well, Buck Showalter doesn't sound like he was very happy with the end of his tenure with the Mets. Basically ripping into the analytics geeks.
Who are ruining the game.
You'll love this. You'll love this. Buck Showalter came out and said that he was being told by the geeks in the front office that if somebody had a great game the night before,
pull them.
Let's say somebody had like 2 doubles, a triple, and a home run. I mean, just a monster game.
Yeah.
Where they were on bases the whole night. He was told the next day, you better rest them because they spent way too much time and energy on the base pass the night before.
You ride the hot bat. They are on a roll.
They wasted all their energy running around the bases,
That's
Dave.
crap. That is
That's what Buck
absolute crap.
Showalter's saying.
Oh my God, these analytic
And you
assholes
wonder why he
are
wanted out.
destroying the game.
And you wonder why he wanted. He
Oh
specifically
my
said
God.
Brandon Nimmo. They told him specifically Brandon Nimmo had a big game, and again, he's not a huge power hitter, but he runs, steals bases, runs around in the outfield.
Yeah, you
Good
need him
defensive.
out there every game.
No, he ran around too much.
That's ridiculous.
You doubt this? I believe
ridiculous.
I believe Buck is telling the truth.
Buck is telling the truth. It's ridiculous that these assholes have that line of thinking.
And this is why our sports are going down the tubes, is because of these analytic assholes. We're paying more and more money for athletes to do less and less.
Paralysis by analysis.
Love it. Love it. Love it. All right. In media news, sports media news, Mr. Personality, Nick Saban. Yeah, it's shocking they're not going to pair him with Bill Belichick on a show somewhere.
Yeah, no, joining the ranks of College Game Day.
Like I said, it could be worse. It could be Belichick.
It could be Belichick. I mean, he's got to be better than Urban Meyer, right?
You would think. You would think. You would hope. I'm not a huge fan of any of the college pregame shows. I just don't like most of the people on.
It's
Matt
too
Leinart,
much.
Desmond Howard. They do nothing for me. They do nothing for me. But now the big news, the huge, huge news this week in sports media. Oh, I don't know how we're going to handle this. I don't know how you're going to handle it. I'm going to handle it. The people out there are going to handle this. How we're going to budget this. How we're going to figure this out. But Disney and ESPN, Fox, and Warner Brothers Discovery are coming together to offer a sports streaming platform in the fall of 2024 with 15 networks primarily that carry nothing but sports.
Yeah. It's still a fucking joke that you're going to overpay. It doesn't give you access to everything. It only gives you access to what they are going to be showing regardless. So anything on CBS, you're not going to get.
You have to have Paramount Plus.
Anything on NBC or Peacock, you're not going to get.
Right, you're going to have Peacock.
Any of your regional sports, you're not going to get.
Nope.
So it's bullshit. It's a big ass money grab that you're going to get fucked because you think you're going to get all of this.
Very, very good points. I'm glad you mentioned all of those very good points. I've got more. Now, the initial price speculation is saying between $40 and $50 a month.
No.
Well, ESPN's already getting $10 a month on their own from cable networks, so
yeah, no. No.
You're not getting, as Dave said, regional sports network access.
You're still going to be subject to blackouts.
What about DVRing games? How about if I want to DVR a game or I want to watch it later? Are they going to allow me to record a game on this platform and watch it later?
Probably not.
I have problems with this as well.
There's so
I'm with you.
much.
I have problems with this as well. And I will be interested to see how this plays out when they bring this out in fall of 2024.
Not going to do it.
Now, of course, they're saying that, well, all these people that are signing up for cable and for YouTube TV, now they don't have to take on all these other channels.
They do if they want the regional stuff.
Right. Now, for me, it doesn't matter because I don't get the marquee network, so I don't care.
And that's not even part of it.
But for you, yeah, it would. If I was a White Sox fan, for what I get on YouTube
for the
TV,
Blackhawks,
right, then I'd get screwed because I get CSN out of Chicago.
Yeah.
So I would lose the White Sox, the Blackhawks, the Bulls. But again, it's all greed. We know this.
Don't cave, people. Don't cave. We have the power to decide. All the teams are already fucking us over by building smaller stadiums and overcharging tickets, wanting the corporations and the uber rich to spend all the money, and your regular families can't attend anything anymore. This is one more thing they're fucking you on TV.
So that being said, shall we talk about the hockey stuff?
Yeah, the brutal Blackhawks still sitting in last place with 30 points, 14-34-2. But big news for them, they will be hosting the 2025 Winter Classic against the St. Louis Blues at Wrigley Field.
You gonna go?
Fuck no.
I was gonna say, I cannot see you stepping foot into Wrigley Field for anything.
Nope, not gonna do it.
Plus, they're still not gonna. I'm sorry, they're not gonna be that good yet.
No, they're not.
At that point in time.
No.
But I know how you feel about the Cubs and Wrigley Field.
I mean, just getting there is a nightmare.
It is. It's ridiculous.
That's the biggest problem I have is trying to
I
get
agree
there.
with you as a Cubs fan. We've talked about going to concerts there.
I would go to a concert there.
Right.
But it's impossible for us to get there
right.
nigh on.
Parking is ridiculous. It's terrible. It's terrible.
No, you have to live there to be able to really take advantage of that area.
Yep. Now, of course, unfortunately, also have to mention the Blackhawks have a 20-game road winless streak going right now. Now, a team that had a positive streak end last night, one shy of the record. After a horrible start to the season, the Edmonton Oilers found their 16-game winning streak end. I believe at the hands of the Golden Knights, wasn't it?
I don't know. I wasn't paying that much damn attention to it.
But one shy, I believe, of the Penguins record.
Yeah.
And then the other big headline with the NHL this week, after 2 Olympics off, NHL players will be allowed back into the Winter Olympics in 2026 and 2030.
Yeah.
But that sucks for the schedule, doesn't it? Doesn't it?
You have an extended break in there. It's crap.
And I still don't understand with NASCAR why NASCAR's taking 2 weeks off for the Olympics this year.
There's no reason.
It's because NBC doesn't want to give them any cameras.
Yeah, basically, NBC has the Olympics, and it's all the Olympics because everybody cares. Not really.
No.
The Olympics hold nothing anymore. It used to mean more when it was your true amateur athletes.
Yeah. Now, you and I would be more than happy to watch a race.
Yeah.
At that point
Give me... I don't want the Olympics. They mean nothing to me.
They have the Olympics. NBC has the Olympics.
Which is why NBC should not have NASCAR at all.
Yeah, I agree with that. And, of course, Dale Jr. is negotiating a new deal. Yay. Now, we talked about golf briefly. The LIV season began at Mayakoba down in Mexico. Joaquin Niemann won the first event of the year. But we just can't get beyond this golf civil fucking war. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of foreshadowing. So as you had something for the Super Bowl that we're going to hold off, I've got golf. And it's not Rory and it's not Tiger. We have a new PGA Tour dumbass who wants to jump into the fray here when it comes to the LIV versus PGA battle.
Oh.
Now, I will point out for the PGA Tour last week, again, weather-related out on the West Coast, the Pebble Beach Pro-Am, the final round was canceled due to weather. Good for Wyndham Clark because they call it after 3 rounds. That nets him $3.6 million.
Good for him.
That's a guy that's got to be sitting there Saturday afternoon going, cancel
Rain,
it, cancel
rain,
it, cancel
rain,
it, cancel
rain,
it, cancel it.
Rain.
Now, I believe we have positive stuff, Dave.
We do.
We like to balance out the negative with the positive.
Yes.
So before we get into a big, massive Red Foreman, dumbass or not, we do have some positivity.
Yep, we have our Clint Eastwood badasses of the week. God help me, I'm going to Green Bay. Packer fan Bill Port, even in jest, applied for their defensive coordinator position. Sent in his resume of how well he's done managing his fantasy football team, winning playoff games and championships. In his cover letter, it said, "Yes, this is a complete joke. I just wanted to do this, give you guys a laugh." Packers GM on his cardstock hand writes a letter to him saying, "Thank you for your interest in this position, but we've decided to go into another direction. Congratulations on your fantasy football accomplishments. I think the Bears are in need of a defensive coordinator." And he signed his first name. So
kudos on both fronts.
Yeah, I mean, that's just kind of a cool story. Guy just for the hell of it does it. And their GM in just loving it and responding, the interaction is a beautiful thing.
You got to love that. All right. We've also always talked about how to manage your time, how to multitask, right? That's a big thing. Talking about resumes, talking about applying for jobs. One of the big skills that you're supposed to have is being able to multitask.
Right. So you're supposed to be able to talk on the phone while compiling a spreadsheet.
Well, how about Kyle Blankenship, my first badass of the week? Kyle Blankenship was the men's basketball coach and is the men's basketball coach for LSU Shreveport in the Red River Athletic Conference in the NAIA. Unique circumstance popped up where the women's coach left at the last second, literally 2 weeks before the season was to start.
No.
Kyle Blankenship now coaches both the men's and the women's basketball team, and he's got them both in playoff contention.
Good for him.
Luckily, only one overlap when it came to games, where he was going to have to let an assistant for the women's team for one game while he was coaching the men run the show. But he has been running both programs, the men's and the women's basketball team, for LSU Shreveport this entire season.
Good for him.
He's a badass.
Absolutely. That is the definition.
And they're, again, both in playoff contention.
Gotta love it.
Juju Watkins. Juju Watkins, star player for number 15 USC women's team. Scored 51 points in USC's 67-58 victory over number 4 Stanford on the women's side. Here's the thing. Do the math. What did I just say? She scored 51 points. The entire team scored 67. Juju Watkins scored 51 of her team's 67 points, beating number 4 Stanford.
That's a hell of an individual effort.
If that is not a badass, I don't know who is.
Oh.
Congrats to Juju Watkins for her badass performance against number 4 Stanford. All right, so before we move on to moments of silence and, of course, an extra big special edition of the Red Foreman Dumbasses of the Week, of course, your Uncle Dave will play along and tell me if I am right or wrong in judging all of these idiots in the sports world. But speaking of idiots in the sports world, my team, because we haven't talked about college hoops yet, real quick. The Miami Hurricanes started off so well this year. Got to the highest point they've ever gotten in the AP poll, and then it all fell apart. I don't know what happened, but they hit a low point. They're still 15-8, but I say NIT. They're probably going to end up in the NIT. I've looked at the schedule here for the next couple of weeks. They got to play North Carolina twice. They got to play Duke.
That's
They're going to
not
the
a
NIT.
good thing.
But the low point of the season, unbelievably pathetic loss to a very good Virginia team.
Yeah,
Now,
Virginia is on a roll right now.
yes, and Virginia has always been known for having a stifling defense and a very slow tempo offense, burning up as much of the play clock as they can. But come on, there's no excuse for this. The Hurricanes lose to Virginia here this past week, 60-38. Yes, the Hurricanes
38.
post an abysmal school record low 38 points against Virginia. So you know what? Go to the NIT. I'm done with you. Done with you. I don't know what happened this year. I don't know if there were injuries, but Jim Larinaga, I don't know how you take the team at the beginning of the year from an all-time high ranking to this mess. But this is a lost season. I mean, last year was great. Last year was historic. Final Four. I'm not ripping on him. It's a bad year. It's an off year, but still, that's pathetic.
Yeah, not a good situation for them to be in.
And of course, Notre Dame locally here, 7-15 in the midst of a 6-game losing streak. Probably tonight, going to go 7 as they are on the road playing number 9 Duke.
Yeah, no bueno for them.
But now we move on to moments of silence. Those legends in the sports world, or some people who didn't get enough coverage or notoriety that we want to bring up, that we want to showcase, that maybe we needed to pay a little more attention to when they were alive.
Yeah. Speaking of that, Florida State University baseball coach Mike Martin passed away. He is the winningest baseball coach in NCAA history with over 2,000 wins. You never heard about this. That's a shame. That is one monumental feat. And he needs to be recognized for that. But our thoughts and prayers go out to his family and friends in the Florida State baseball community.
Yeah, again, I mentioned to you, I barely saw a crawl on one of the shows I watch that mentioned him. ESPN, shame on you, never ever gave him any type of coverage on their main page.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah.
The lack of coverage that he got.
And I understand college baseball doesn't get the publicity, doesn't get the coverage that basketball and football do. But still, I mean, this guy,
He's
again,
a record-setting coach who deserved his props.
Yep. Now, of course, Rich Castor passed away. Former Jet, 3-time Pro Bowler, tight end, wide receiver. Now, a bit before our time in terms of when he really made an impact. Now, I believe he did get a ring late in his career, possibly with Washington. But I'm not trying to make light of his passing, but for all intents and purposes, I want to recognize the fact that he is the father of Max Castor, who is one of the 2 men in the former AEW Tag Team Champions, the Acclaimed.
Yeah, there you go.
I couldn't
let
it go.
Yourself.
No, I couldn't let it go.
Yep. And then third we have Earl the Twirl Cureton, NBA big man who spent his time with the Pistons and the Sixers, and he was noted around Detroit for all the work he did in the community there. So thoughts and prayers go out to his family and friends as well.
All right, Dave.
Pivot to the dumbassery.
Oh, by the way, speaking of pivot, do you know that one of the commercials we're going to
Yes.
be getting Super Bowl
And
Sunday
Uber Eats.
with Ross and Rachel?
Yes, that should be very entertaining.
Yes. All right, we have a lot to discuss here. Big supersized edition of Red Foreman's favorite game show, Dumbass or Not, with our number one contestant. He's our only contestant, your uncle, Dave Height.
Number one.
Now, I thought for a while here we were heading towards an all basketball. All basketball, but one or two snuck in at the last possible minute. So let's get those out of the way, and then we'll just run through the basketball stuff.
It's too easy.
Now, let's start with the two that you and I kind of wanted to slip into the show earlier, but we decided they deserve to be in this contest.
Yes, because they are dumbasses.
Number one, Patrick Mahomes Sr. This family cannot stay out of the headlines.
No. And usually it's for the wrong reasons.
Except for Patrick Mahomes Jr.
Yeah, he's on the positive side, but Senior pulled over and arrested for a DUI. Why is this so bad? Well, he's drunk driving for one. Two, it's his third damn offense. He's looking at jail time on this one.
Oh, but they're going to allow him to travel to Vegas to watch his
Bullshit.
son.
Nobody else would be able to do that.
Yep. Yeah, and that's the thing. That is the thing. Over and over and over again. If we cannot hammer that point home more forcefully to you people, when we bring out these athletes and their family members or celebrities on the weekend edition,
they get special fucking treatment, and it's ridiculous.
Because again, as Dave said, we wouldn't get away with this. We would never, ever get away with this.
Unless you're Danny Masterson, and then he got the book thrown at him more so than anybody else in that situation.
Now, the one that I was going to bring up during our golf discussion, of course, we've ripped apart the hypocrisy of Rory McIlroy and Tiger Woods and all the money they've taken from the Saudis at Dubai. And then, of course, tearing into the guys who took the money to go to live golf. Well, now we have a third dumbass. Scotty Scheffler has now decided to jump into the fray. And Scotty Scheffler is the number one ranked player in the world. But Scotty Scheffler...
You would never know it.
Scotty Scheffler now says there should be a penalty, quote-unquote penalty, for live golfers who want to return to the PGA Tour.
Yeah, you're just sour because you weren't offered any money because you don't have a big enough name to be a draw. Now, regardless of your ranking or not.
I will say this. I looked over the last 5 years at where he's played, and he has not taken Saudi money. He has not played in Dubai. For the most part, he has stayed here in the PGA Tour. So I will give him a break on that. In that sense, he's not a hypocrite.
No, but he's still sour grapes because he hadn't been offered the opportunity.
I don't understand what the hell is going on with let's penalize them. Let's penalize them. Where are we going as a society where if somebody decides to take option A instead of option B, not anything illegal.
Right. Who are you to say that they should be penalized?
So that's like, we've got this stupid ass UFL coming up, right? The United Football League. Let's say somebody is a breakout superstar. Is the NFL, is what, Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert, they're going to come out and say that guy can't come into the NFL because he chose not to without being penalized?
Yeah.
No.
It makes zero sense.
These guys are talking out of their asses.
They're just trying to keep their names in the headlines.
All right, again, the shows that I watch and I listen to glean information, to do research. Number one on the list is, of course, it's been this way for well over a decade, is used to be Boomer and Carton, now it's Boomer and Geo. WFAN, Monday through Friday mornings, out of New York. Now they happen to be in Vegas this week for the Super Bowl. So the producer of the show, the guy that books the guests, is one Al Dukes. And he's basically a nerd. He is basically a nerd. But he serves his purpose. He's funny. But I cannot believe this actually happened, and it's true. That now they're set apart. Now CBS has the Super Bowl this year, and
Right.
they're set up at the Bellagio. Now Boomer and Geo unfortunately got the short end of the stick here, even though they're on CBS Sports Network. They are down at the Wynn. So they've got their own little studio down there. Very hard for them to get guests because they're farther away from the big hub.
Right. They're not on the main radio row.
Right. So Al Dukes thought he was getting a coup. And he booked Randy Moss. The problem is,
Randy Moss.
He booked the white horse racing reporter, Randy Moss.
Oh my
God. Of course, for the last 2 days, we've heard nothing but excuses about how he was deceived and how they don't. And he says, I talked to this Randy Moss's representative and asked, why don't you differentiate him from the other one? Why would we?
Exactly.
This way he gets more bookings.
Exactly.
Because of people like you who don't do their research.
What a dumbass.
Very, very funny for the last couple days listening to this whole mess. About the real Randy Moss, the Hall of Famer Randy Moss, actually chimed in on social media when he heard this, and he basically said, "You've been mossed." Very funny.
That's
very
good.
funny.
That's good.
But Al Dukes is a dumbass.
He's such a dumbass.
All right. Before we get to the basketball. Now, we were going to talk about this last week. I didn't care. We don't care about the Olympics all that much.
No, we don't.
But, of course, we had Kamila Valieva, the Russian skater who got a 4-year ban for doping. So, of course, all these gold medals.
Every
the U.S.
medal
got like 9, I think.
Up. Yeah.
I think the U.S. ended up getting like 9 gold medals because of this. So, Kamila Valieva got this 4-year ban for doping. Now it comes out in her appeal why she tested positive.
Is she transitioning?
Oh, it's better than that. It's better than that. Multiple mentions in her deposition mention the word strawberry. Why? She claims that her grandfather accidentally dropped his heart medication into a strawberry dessert he was preparing for the family.
Bullshit.
So that's why she tested positive.
Bullshit.
Is her grandfather's heart medication somehow made its way into a strawberry dessert?
I don't think his heart medication would have registered for what they were testing for.
Needless to say, the panel that reviewed her appeal
denied it.
Yes.
Yeah, I would hope so.
So the 4-year
oh
ban
God.
does stand. All right. Now we get to the all basketball entrance for this week's Dumbass or Not. Now, this is a two-parter. College basketball. First off, the National Labor Relations Board may have just destroyed college sports as we know it, as they have granted the Dartmouth men's basketball team the right to unionize.
All right, what the fuck does Dartmouth think their basketball team is worth to start with? Those idiots have no freaking clue.
They have all been
my God.
labeled as employees.
This ruling is absolute.
They better not. No more scholarships. No more fucking scholarships. That's it. I'm done with this.
No more.
If we're gonna go down this path, they pay for their own fucking college education.
Exactly.
That's it.
No more.
I am done with that shit. And I don't want to hear anybody come to me and say, well, they get to join a union, they get NIL money, and we give them a free ride at school.
No, they no longer get the free ride. Their education comes out of the NIL and whatever else bullshit that's going on.
Because I'm tired of this. We need doctors. We need lawyers. We need engineers.
We need damn electricians and plumbers.
We don't need another motherfucking overpaid, middle-of-the-road basketball player. And I'm sick of this. This is an indication of where this country is going.
Me.
Now, part two of this.
Satan
is one of our favorite dumbasses who goes one step further. Now, necessarily, does this make him a dumbass? No. But the fact that he's looking this far into the future to the apocalypse that's coming because of this ruling is one Rick Pitino. Rick Pitino comes out and actually says, well, now, and I think it's because his team sucks.
Oh, yeah.
St. John sucks, and they can't compete. Rick Pitino comes out and says the NCAA needs a salary cap.
$2 million salary cap for each school for basketball. Just basketball. That's bullshit.
Well, we talked last week about the fact that how many college football players with the NIL money were making more than Brock Purdy, the starting quarterback for the 49ers in the fucking Super Bowl. That should tell you all you need to know about how screwed up this world is, and especially college athletics.
Yep. We've known college athletics, that bubble was going to burst. It's been a joke.
I didn't think it would go nuclear like this, though. I did not think it was going to go nuclear like this.
This is beyond our worst possible.
The NIL stuff, yes. Unionizing these players.
That's stupid. That is an absolute travesty. That judge should be strung up.
There is an appeal. There is an appeal.
Oh my God, no. Dumb beyond belief.
How far until we end up with high school players unionizing?
This is ridiculous.
Isn't that the next logical step?
Yeah.
Even though it's illogical, this whole thing is illogical.
So bad.
So let's go to the professional idiots in the world of basketball to wrap up this edition of Sports Frenzy 2.0. Perpetual dumbass LeBron James. Of course, the mercenary that he is, the self-serving jackass that he is, with, of course, the aforementioned trade deadline coming Thursday at 3 p.m., LeBron has got to put out all these cryptic emojis about hourglasses. And then now I confirmed the hourglass. I have also heard that he actually put the Statue of Liberty emoji on his social media account. And when they recently, here within the last week, played the Knicks, was carrying a Knicks towel around.
Yeah, he's
trying to
he's
push
a big
for
dumbass.
trying to push for somehow a trade.
Well, gee, LeBron, it's funny that you want to do that because this is pretty much the Lakers fucking team that you coerced the front office into putting together for you. You have failed miserably because you're an idiot and a dumbass who should just stick to playing the game and staying out of personnel.
And thank God I've heard pushback from a lot of people this week. Finally, after this garbage, they're finally coming out of their shell and acknowledging what we have said. We fucking have told you so for years and years. This is a self-centered, selfish non-competitor. All he cares about is himself, his brand, his family, his immediate needs. He doesn't care about being a champion or a winner.
Or the communities that he's actually playing in.
Right. Or the league's health as a whole. As we've noted in the past, he's more than happy to sit road games where people have paid money, good money, to bring their kids to see the legendary LeBron James. And then Memphis again is the one that always pops up.
Not only does
He
he not
never
play,
plays in
he
Memphis.
doesn't even travel.
And of course, we want to talk about how screwed up the NBA is. The last two I've got perfect examples. Now, number one, of course, Doc Rivers has taken over as the head coach of the Milwaukee Bucks. His start has not been stellar by any means, but because he won one game, he locked himself into being the coach of the Eastern Conference All-Stars.
That is absolutely stupid because they are the best record.
No. They're not the best record. Your Boston Celtics have the best record, but the stupid NBA rules state that you cannot coach the All-Star team in back-to-back years. So that drops it down to the next best team, which at the time was the Milwaukee Bucks. And by winning that one game, locking up that number 2 spot at the time.
Oh, that is just awful, horrible, stupid.
Now, I will give Doc Rivers a little bit of credit in that he says he will give everything, the bonus money, everything, to Adrian Griffin, the former coach who was fired.
Yeah, we'll see if that actually comes to pass.
But we told you, the hiring of Doc Rivers gave everybody in the East hope because Doc Rivers
will tank that team.
Won't get past the second round. Will not get past the second round. Despite the Joel Embiid injury, now with the Knicks, despite Julius Randle and now Brunson's injury, the Cavaliers are on fire right now.
Yeah.
That's a team you got to worry about. All right, finally, the poster child for what is wrong with sports. Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons, of course, of the Nets. Formerly of the Sixers.
Always a dumbass.
Always claiming he's too stressed out or too injured to play, but more than happy to take that guaranteed paycheck. Ben Simmons missed 38 games. Okay? At the beginning of the season. 38 games. finally says, I'm okay to play. Comes back for the Nets, plays one game.
And now he's back on the injured list.
Yep, then he sits out with a knee contusion. Then he came back for one more game, Dave. And then he had to sit out again because of back maintenance.
This guy is the ultimate. I don't think he's a dumbass. It's the NBA and these teams who are dumbasses for continuing to sign him and give him contracts. This guy's making bank for not having to do anything.
Well, the dumbass part of it is the guaranteed contract.
Yeah.
There's no
it's
way
on
in
the
hell.
NBA and everything
there is
else.
no way in hell
This
he should be making any kind of money.
This is Exhibit A in why you do not have guaranteed contracts.
Yeah, Exhibit 1A, 1B, 1C, all the top exhibits should revolve around Ben Simmons. You know what? To wrap things up, the worst thing is that just happened in the West in the NBA. James fucking Harden and the Clippers just moved into the number 1 spot in the West.
Oh, God.
That asshole who moved himself in and around all these different teams, going to strip clubs, didn't want to play here, don't like it here, don't. Now all of a sudden he gets to the Clippers and he decides to start playing. And now they're the number 1 seed in the West.
So he's happy for now until they hit a little bit of a skid, and then he's going to start sitting and being the malcontent that he usually is.
Anytime any adversity comes down, yeah, he'll run scared like a little rabbit into his hole or his stripper club.
Yeah.
The beard. Oh, my God. All
Done
right, kids.
with him.
Very jam-packed, fun-filled Sports Frenzy episode comes to an end, but don't forget the weekend edition.
Your Saturday morning hangover cure, music, movies, books, TV, streaming.
Of course, another episode, another segment of Dumbass or Not. We have got Lynch Mob, Billy Joel, catch you up on True Detective, Monsieur Spade.
We got some trailers to discuss.
And we have got movies. I've got a couple movie reviews, one new one, and then one story time. So you do not want to miss the weekend edition, your Saturday morning hangover cure, as your Uncle Dave just alluded to. We love you.
Thanks for hanging out with us again. We'll talk with you next week.
Bye-bye.